Hidden strength. For 73 years, humanity had maintained the charade. To the 27 spacefaring civilizations of the Galactic Concord, humans were the newcomers, quaint, ambitious, but militarily insignificant. Their ships were adequate but unimpressive. Their weapons were functional but outdated. Their territory was modest but unremarkable. When Admiral Torin Vex of the Valkyrian Empire first encountered human diplomats during their admission to the Concord, he had remarked to his second-in-command, "Another species that will serve well enough as a buffer state." The Valkyrians, with their crystalline exoskeletons and towering 3-meter frames, had dominated the eastern spiral arm for millennia. They were accustomed to newcomers folding into the established hierarchy, some through alliance, most through subjugation, but all eventually found their place beneath Valkyrian supremacy. And humans, by all measurements, seemed to know their place. Until today. Commander Eliza Chen stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, watching the massive Valkyrian dreadnought Imperial Fist through the viewport. At 1.8 kilometers long, the crystalline warship dwarfed her modest 300-meter craft. Light refracted through its faceted hull, casting prismatic patterns across the void. "They're hailing us, Commander," Lieutenant Park said from his communication station. The standard intimidation package, full spectrum broadcast, weapon systems running hot but not locked. Chen nodded, straightening her simple gray uniform. No medals, no insignia beyond her rank. The Terran Coalition had a strict protocol about projecting modest capability. Acknowledge and request permission to dock for the scheduled diplomatic exchange. "They're clearing us for approach," Park confirmed after a moment. "And they're scanning us. Deep penetration scans." "Let them," Chen said. "They'll find exactly what they expect." The scan would reveal what all Valkyrian scans had found for decades: outdated fusion reactors, minimal point defense systems, and a complement of 30 crew members. The hidden quantum core, the phase-shifted armaments, and the actual crew of 120 would remain undetected, as they had during every previous encounter. Strategic humility, they called it in the academies. Earth's greatest defense. Olive Branch glided into the cavernous docking bay of the Imperial Fist. Chen watched through internal monitors as Valkyrian soldiers in crystalline battle armor formed a reception line. Their translucent bodies pulsed with internal bioluminescence, blue for calm, though tinged with the purple of contempt. "Remember," Chen addressed her diplomatic team, "we're here to negotiate the status of the Epsilon Indi colonies. Nothing more." What she didn't say aloud was the real purpose: to assess whether the Valkyrians could still be reasoned with, or if 73 years of restraint was about to end. Admiral Vex met them in the ship's grand audience chamber. Crystalline growths formed natural architecture throughout the massive space, refracting light in patterns that subtly disoriented most species. It was a psychological tactic that humans had long ago adapted to counter with specialized neural implants the Valkyrians knew nothing about. "Commander Chen," Vex's voice resonated through translator fields. "Your punctuality honors your species, if little else does." Chen performed the formal bow of diplomatic courtesy. "Admiral Vex, the Terran Coalition appreciates this opportunity for dialogue." "Dialogue," Vex repeated, the word tinged with amusement as his inner light pulsed purple-orange. "Let us be direct. The resources of the Epsilon Indi system have become necessary for Valkyrian interests. Your colonies there will be evacuated. The time frame is the only point of negotiation." Chen maintained a neutral expression. Those colonies were established under Article 7 of the Galactic Concord, on worlds uninhabited by sentient life. They represent a significant investment of human resources. "Articles and investments matter little when faced with necessity," Vex replied. "The Valkyrian Empire requires those worlds. You have 40 standard days to complete evacuation before we begin." Administrative operations. Around the chamber, Valkyrian officers watched the exchange with the casual interest of predators observing wounded prey. They had seen this scenario play out dozens of times with other minor species. Administrative operations, Chen echoed. You mean military occupation. Semantics. Vex waved a crystalline limb dismissively. The Valkyrian fleet will secure what the Empire requires. Your cooperation simply determines whether your colonists leave with their possessions or merely their lives. Chen took a measured breath. Admiral, I've been authorized to inform you that the Terran Coalition cannot, and will not, cede sovereign territory established under Concord law. A ripple of amusement passed through the Valkyrian officers. Their internal lights shifted to bright purple mixed with yellow, contempt and anticipation. Cannot. Vex leaned forward, towering over Chen. Commander, perhaps you misunderstand your position. Your species possesses 17 warships classified as destroyers by Concord standards, none exceeding 500 meters in length. The Empire currently has 35 capital ships in this sector alone. Our military capabilities are indeed modest, Chen acknowledged with a slight bow, which is why we've always prioritized diplomatic solutions. A necessity, not a virtue, Vex said. Your species joined the galactic community late. The powerful civilizations claimed the prime territories and resources millennia ago. Your niche exists by our tolerance. Chen met the Admiral's four eyes steadily, and humanity has appreciated that tolerance. But these colonies are non-negotiable. Vex's body flared bright red, the color of decision rather than anger. Then this meeting is concluded. You have 40 days. Inform your coalition that this timeframe is generous. Admiral, Chen said, her voice suddenly carrying a weight that made several Valkyrian officers pause. Before we depart, I've been instructed to give you one final message from the Terran Coalition Security Council. Vex gestured impatiently. Speak it. For 73 years, humanity has maintained a policy of strategic humility within the Galactic Concord. That policy ends today. Confusion rippled through the Valkyrian command staff as their internal lights flickered between colors. Cryptic threats do not become a species in your position, Commander, Vex said. Chen touched her wrist communicator. This isn't a threat. It's notification of a policy change. Her communicator projected a holographic display into the center of the chamber. It showed the space surrounding the Imperial Fist, empty except for the human diplomatic vessel. Then the hologram shifted. Where empty space had been, hundreds of ships materialized. Sleek, predatory vessels of unmistakably human design, but unlike any human ships the Valkyrians had encountered. They had surrounded the dreadnought in a perfect three-dimensional containment grid. What deception is this? Vex demanded, though the sudden pale blue lighting of his body betrayed his shock. No deception, Admiral. Phase shift technology. These ships were always here. Chen's voice remained calm. The Terran Coalition currently has 347 warships deployed throughout Valkyrian territory. 73 of them are currently surrounding your flagship. One of Vex's officers hurried to his side. Admiral, our scans are confirming this. They were completely undetectable until now. Energy signatures indicate weapons yields beyond our classification metrics. Impossible, Vex whispered, his crystalline form now pale blue with shock. Human technology cannot develop functional phase shifting, cannot produce gravitational weaponry, cannot deploy autonomous drone networks. Chen finished for him. That was true 73 years ago, when we first contacted the Concord. We thought it prudent to downplay certain aspects of our civilization. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The hologram zoomed out to show more human vessels, hundreds more, positioned throughout Valkyrian space, near every major military installation and population center. You've been watching us, Vex realized, his voice barely audible. All these years, observing, learning, preparing. Chen stepped closer to the hologram. Humanity remembers its history, Admiral. Nations that flaunted military power invited conflict. We chose a different approach. A new alert sounded across the Valkyrian command systems. On screens throughout the chamber, reports streamed in of human vessels appearing throughout Valkyrian territory. Your entire defense network has been neutralized, Chen continued. Not destroyed. We aren't initiating hostilities. But your weapon systems, communication arrays, and propulsion capabilities are currently under our control. Vex stared at the human. This small, seemingly insignificant creature that had just revealed a web decades in the making. Why now? Why reveal yourselves over a few colonies? Because your empire's expansion patterns indicated we were approaching a direct conflict, Chen explained. Our analysts predicted an 87% probability that you would attempt to seize human territory within the next standard year. We preferred to control the circumstances of the revelation. She gestured to her diplomatic team. We will return to our vessel now. You have 40 standard hours to withdraw all Valkyrian military assets from the border of human space to a minimum distance of 5 light years. After that time, we will consider any military presence as hostile intent. As Chen turned to leave, Vex found his voice. The other Concord powers, they will never allow this shift in the balance of power. Chen paused at the chamber entrance. Admiral, what makes you think they don't already know? Humanity hasn't only been watching the Valkyrians. The diplomatic team departed, leaving the Valkyrian command in stunned silence. As they walked through the corridors back to their ship, Lieutenant Park leaned close to Chen. Do you think they'll comply? He asked quietly. Chen nodded. They will. The Valkyrians respect strength above all else. They just never expected to find it in us. As the olive branch disengaged from the Imperial fist, Chen watched the massive dreadnought through the viewport. For 73 years, humanity had hidden in plain sight, building their strength while appearing weak. Today marked the end of that strategy, and the beginning of a very different relationship with the galaxy. The deception was over, and the stars would never look at humanity the same way again. Calculated restraint. Fleet Admiral Sarah Takahashi stood in the Strategic Command Center deep beneath the Olympus Mons military complex on Mars, watching the real-time holographic display of Valkyrian fleet movements. Dozens of crystalline warships were hastily retreating from the border of human space, exactly as Commander Chen had demanded. They're complying admirably, remarked General Ibrahim Okafor, head of Coalition Intelligence. Tactical assessment suggests they've withdrawn 83% of their forces already. They'll meet the deadline with hours to spare. Takahashi nodded slowly. At 78 years old, she was one of the few remaining architects of humanity's strategic humility doctrine. She had been a junior officer when humanity first encountered alien life and realized just how vast and dangerous the galaxy truly was. And the other Concord powers? She asked. Reacting exactly as predicted, Okafor brought up a new holographic display showing diplomatic communiques and fleet movements from across the galaxy. The Trilleri Federation has requested an emergency council meeting. The Murians are mobilizing their observation fleets but maintaining distance. The Juxian collective has gone completely silent. They're reassessing. Takahashi allowed herself a small smile. 73 years of patience. Was it worth it, Ibrahim? History will decide, he replied. But we've revealed ourselves without firing a single shot. That alone vindicates your strategy. Takahashi turned to the central table where the full Security Council had assembled. 12 men and women representing Earth's united governments and its colonial territories. They had all been preparing for this day for decades. The Revelation Protocol has been executed successfully, she announced. Phase 1 is complete. Our true capabilities have been demonstrated to the Valkyrians without casualties on either side. The question before this council now is whether to proceed with Phase 2. Councilor Anaya Rodriguez from the South American Union leaned forward. The intelligence reports suggest the Valkyrians are already mobilizing their reserves from the inner systems. They're complying tactically but preparing strategically. As expected, replied Counselor Chen Wei from the East Asian Alliance. The Valkyrian Empire has dominated their region for over 3,000 years. They won't simply accept a new power balance without testing it, which is precisely why Phase 2 was designed. Takahashi reminded them. A calculated demonstration of our full capabilities, not just what we revealed to Commander Chen's diplomatic mission. The chamber fell silent as the council members contemplated the implications. Phase 2 had always been the most controversial element of the Revelation Protocol, a decisive show of force meant to establish humanity's position permanently. I believe we should give diplomacy more time, said Councillor Amara Okonkwo from the African Federation. We shocked them. Let that shock work for us before we escalate further. Takahashi was about to respond when an urgent alert appeared on the holographic display. General Okafor quickly expanded it, revealing a massive surge of Valkyrian vessels. It appears the Empire has made the decision for us, Okafor announced grimly. They've activated their reserve fleets. Over 200 capital ships are mobilizing, including their Worldbreaker-class dreadnoughts. These weren't in any of our intelligence assessments. They've been keeping secrets too, Takahashi murmured. Interesting. The council erupted in urgent discussions. Takahashi raised her hand, silencing the chamber. We anticipated this possibility. The Valkyrians are testing our resolve, she said calmly. They believe what Commander Chen showed them was the extent of our capabilities. They're gambling that we've revealed our full hand. And we haven't, Councillor Rodriguez stated. Not even close, Takahashi confirmed. I recommend we proceed with Phase 2 immediately. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. 50 light-years away, aboard the Valkyrian command carrier Crystalline Dominance, Supreme Admiral Razix contemplated the holographic display of his assembled armada. 317 capital ships, the largest fleet the Empire had mobilized in 7 centuries, gathered at the staging point just beyond the border they had established with the humans. Is this wise, Supreme Admiral? Asked his second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vex. The humans demonstrated significant technological advantages we were unaware of. Razex's crystalline form pulsed with confident amber light. They revealed their deception, yes. But deception cuts both ways, Sub-Admiral. We have maintained our own secrets. He gestured to the display, highlighting the 12 Worldbreaker dreadnoughts positioned at the center of the formation. Each was over 5 kilometers long, with firepower capable of reducing a small moon to rubble, and they had been kept hidden from conquered inventories for centuries. The humans surprised us once, Razix continued. A clever strategy, but ultimately flawed. They revealed their strength too soon, before they understood ours. Now they face the full might of an empire that has ruled the stars since their ancestors were crafting primitive tools. And if their revelation was incomplete, Vex asked carefully, if they too have held back their full capabilities. Razex's form pulsed dismissively. Our intelligence division has analyzed every aspect of their revealed technology. Their phase shifting is impressive but limited to ships already in position. Their gravitational weapons require massive power reserves. They have advantages, yes, but not enough to overcome numerical superiority of this magnitude. He turned to his command staff. We will not attack their colonies or worlds. This will be a surgical demonstration of power against their revealed fleet. Once their military advantage is neutralized, we will dictate new terms. Throughout the massive fleet, Valkyrian crews prepared for battle. The Empire had not faced a significant military challenge in nearly a millennium, but war remained encoded in their crystalline DNA. Fleet is in position. Supreme Admiral, reported his tactical officer. All ships report combat readiness. Excellent. Commence the jump sequence. Target coordinates. The human defensive line at Epsilon Indi. Space rippled as 300 Valkyrian warships engaged their full drives simultaneously, tearing open synchronized corridors through subspace. In moments, the armada emerged at the edge of the Epsilon Indi system, directly into emptiness. Report. Razix demanded as the tactical displays showed no sign of the human fleet that had been monitoring the system. Scanning. Supreme Admiral. His sensor officer replied, confusion evident in his voice. No human vessels detected within sensor range. The colonies on the 3rd and 4th planets appear normal. Civilian traffic only. Razix's internal light pulsed with cautious yellow. Expand scanning range. They must be. The sensor officer's crystalline form suddenly flashed white with alarm. Multiple anomalies detected. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Around the Valkyrian fleet, space itself seemed to warp and distort. Not the familiar ripple of ships decloaking or emerging from fold space, but something more fundamental, as if reality itself was being rewritten. Vast structures materialized around the fleet, not ships, but massive geometric installations that defied conventional design. Pentagonal, crystalline, with pulsing blue energy coursing through vein-like channels, they formed a perfect containment sphere around the entire Valkyrian armada. What are these constructs? Razix demanded. Weapons, defense platforms. Before anyone could respond, every communication system aboard the Valkyrian ships activated simultaneously. On every screen, display, and holographic projector appeared the image of an elderly human female in a simple military uniform. Supreme Admiral Razix, she spoke in perfect Valkyrian. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Takahashi of the Terran Coalition Defense Force. I see you've brought friends to our meeting. Razix stood rigid, his crystalline form pulsing with restrained anger. You've revealed more of your hidden capabilities. Admiral. Impressive, but ultimately futile. You faced the combined might of the Valkyrian Empire. Takahashi nodded respectfully. Indeed. 317 capital ships, including 12 Worldbreaker-class dreadnoughts that you've kept hidden from Concord registries. We've been aware of them for 62 years. The casual revelation sent shockwaves through the Valkyrian command staff. Their most closely guarded secret, spoken of as common knowledge. These structures surrounding your fleet are not warships, Takahashi continued. They are fold anchors, devices that manipulate the fundamental properties of space-time. Currently, they have created a localized bubble around your armada. Within this bubble, your fold drives cannot function. Your weapons cannot extend beyond the perimeter. You are, effectively, contained. Any containment can be broken, Razix replied, though his internal light had dimmed considerably. Of course, these measures are not permanent, merely a demonstration. Takahashi's expression remained calm, almost grandmotherly. Supreme Admiral, humanity has existed alongside the Valkyrian Empire for less than a century. Your civilization has thrived for millennia. We respect that history and have no desire for conflict. She leaned forward slightly. But understand this, what Commander Chen showed you was our defensive capability. What you see now is a fraction of our containment systems. We have not yet revealed our offensive technologies, and we sincerely hope we never need to. A new holographic display appeared beside Takahashi, showing thousands of the same geometric structures deployed throughout Valkyrian space, near every major world, shipyard, and military installation. We could have placed these before revealing ourselves, Takahashi noted. We could have activated them simultaneously, immobilizing your entire civilization. We chose not to because the Terran Coalition does not seek dominance, only security. Razix's form had faded to pale blue, the color of strategic reassessment. What are your terms, Admiral? The same as before. Recognition of established human territories under Concord law, a demilitarized buffer zone between our civilizations, and the commencement of actual diplomatic relations based on mutual respect rather than perceived power imbalances. She paused, her expression softening slightly. The galaxy is vast, Supreme Admiral. Surely there is room for both our civilizations to thrive without conflict. For nearly a full minute, Razix stood motionless, his internal lights cycling through colors as he processed the situation. When he finally spoke, His voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of imperial history. The Valkyrian Empire acknowledges your position, Admiral Takahashi. We will withdraw and consider your terms. Takahashi nodded. The fold anchors will deactivate in 30 minutes, allowing your fleet to return home. A formal diplomatic delegation will contact your government in 3 standard days to begin negotiations. As the communication ended, Razex turned to his stunned command staff. Prepare the fleet for return once the constraints are lifted, and send word to the Imperial Council. The galaxy has changed, and we must change with it. Aboard the Terran Command Station Sentinel, orbiting Jupiter, Admiral Takahashi watched as the Valkyrian fleet departed 6 hours later. General Okafor stood beside her, reviewing the after-action reports. They're returning directly to their core systems, he confirmed. No detours, no aggressive posturing. I believe they got the message. For now, Takahashi replied. This isn't the end, Ibrahim. It's hardly even the beginning. We've spent 73 years watching the galaxy. Now the galaxy will be watching us. Okafor nodded thoughtfully. The other Concord powers are already adjusting their positions. The Trilleri have withdrawn their request for an emergency session. The Murians are proposing expanded trade agreements, and the Juxian Collective has suddenly remembered they have territorial disputes with the Valkyrians. They'd like our help mediating. Takahashi smiled faintly. Power recognizes power. But that was never our goal. Wasn't it? Okafor asked carefully. No, she said firmly. Our goal was survival in a galaxy where we arrived late to a very old game. Strategic humility gave us time to prepare. What we do with that preparation now will define humanity's place among the stars for centuries to come. She turned from the viewport to face her old friend. The hard part begins now, Ibrahim. It's simple to hide strength. It's far more difficult to use it wisely once revealed. Beyond the command station's viewport, Earth glowed blue and white against the darkness. 73 years ago, humanity had looked to the stars and realized they were not alone, and that their new neighbors were ancient, powerful, and not always benevolent. They had chosen patience over pride, preparation over posturing. Today, that strategy had prevented a war that might have consumed worlds. Tomorrow, it would shape a new balance of power throughout the galaxy, and humanity's true strength, not just in weapons and technology, but in foresight and restraint, would finally be known among the stars. The deception was over. The real work of coexistence had just begun.